everyone. Welcome to MRX Unplugged. We are on episode 5. I am here with my lovely co-host today. We have Dan Fleetwood and Crystal Weiss. Please introduce yourselves.
Dan.
Hey, I'm Dan Fleetwood. I wasn't sure if you were going to go or you wanted me to go.
You go first, Dan.
Here at Question Pro, and excited to be here on episode 5.
I know, 5 episodes, guys. Great job. I'm Crystal Weiss. I'm the director of marketing at Question Pro, and I am more excited to be here than Dan, evidently.
I mean, hopefully everyone is excited for this episode because it's a pretty cool one. I think it's going to be super handy for all walks of life, people that are just brand new to market research, anyone that's a little bit more already in the industry, to put it politely. It's called Market Research Translating the Lingo, or Market Research Lingo Translating the Corporate Talk. Can't even get my own title right.
I wish that someone would have given me this webinar when I was first starting. I literally had to create a dictionary for Question Pro of all the ins and outs.
Yeah, there's a lot of acronyms out there, which we're definitely going to be covering. But yeah, so the range, good segue, the range of topics that we're going to be talking about today are things like quantitative, qualitative research, understanding consumer insights, conducting SWOT analysis. I didn't even know what that was before this, so I'm pretty excited for other people to understand that too. But yeah, there's going to be something for everyone, so this is going to be a good one. I'm going to be presenting a slideshow to kind of help us out with that, so that people can actually read along in case they might need assistance, like seeing what the actual acronyms are, since, you know, it's a webinar, we're just talking, there's no subtitles. So. All right.
If we say something like, if you want to take the qual and the quant and we go too fast, then you're going to miss it.
Breeze right past you. Okay. So let's start with one that's called
literally qual and quant.
There you go. Qual and quant. It's apparently abbreviated to the first 4 letters. Yeah, I can count. Anyway, so these are the definitions for it. Qualitative research is focusing on collecting what did I say? Qualitative? Qualitative research is focusing on collecting non-numerical data like opinions, motivations, and feelings. It's useful for answering questions like why or how. And quantitative research involves collecting numerical data, which can be quantified and subjected to statistical analysis. It's useful for answering questions, how many or how much. So yeah, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Does it translate well? These are like the dictionary
definitions. Dan, what are kind of like the insider definitions? I haven't.
Yeah, I mean,
you told me. I think my results on this call.
What did I tell you?
That qualitatives are just a bunch of bombs.
No, I didn't say that. That's a lie. You're making up stuff now. So yeah, I mean, these are definitely like textbook definitions for sure. I would say like quantitative data tends to be more like numerical, more closed-ended questions that you're asking in order to get that, excuse me if I could speak, the statistical analysis that you need. And then I know it's contagious, I guess, too. And so that's largely used for kind of confirming or trying to figure out what you have or what you're trying to accomplish with doing research. So you might use it for, you know, product testing or pricing or even customer satisfaction. So where you know some of the answer options and you're just trying to get a big volume of data so you can make some good business decisions based on it. I would say qualitative research is more open-ended. It's more of the why, more of the how question, as you're mentioning here. Typically, it's used for more brainstorming type research when you don't really know kind of what you need to focus on or what the problems are. Like maybe you have an overarching thing like, hey, my sales are down, or we need to revamp this particular package or whatever it might be, but you don't know how to go about it. You don't know the customer's feelings, their and how they would go about would they even like purchase it? What are they thinking? How do they want it? So that would be more of like qualitative research, and there's different tools and techniques for both of them. But yeah, I mean, I don't know that I said qualitative researchers are moms, but qualitative research. I mean, there's like some general like I don't know, assumptions or associations. Like qualitative researchers tend to be a little bit more like open-ended, a little bit more like kind of
Right and left
less.
brain.
They're a little more whimsical, I feel like.
Yeah,
'cause they're
whimsical.
always,
That's a good
and
word.
they're like whimsical and like feelings based, right? Because
Yeah,
they're always
sure.
trying to dig deeper. There are a lot of like, I don't know, every time I hang out with, like, shout out to Jill who runs our qualitative research. She just always asks, she like has direct eye contact, and she asks me these like very detailed questions, and I'm always just like, ma'am, I'm trying to just like say hi and like,
No, they're
like,
yeah. No, qualitative researchers are definitely skilled in asking questions, probing, getting to like the root, right? Because even if I ask you a question like, "What do you like about this product?" You might say something, but is that really like how you feel, or is that just more like surface opinion? So they're good at really probing and getting down into the weeds. Where quantitative researchers tend to be more, they're more numbers based. They like kind of the stats of it all, and really analyzing big data sets, and then hopefully getting some good business insights out of that. So it's definitely kind of two different camps. There's some that can cross over, and we're even seeing a mix of what they call like quali-quant type research.
Oh, is that
No,
another acronym?
That's
we
another
didn't
one.
put that
Yeah.
in here. Okay, that's the next one.
Yeah.
Quali-quant.
Yeah.
Polyquad.
So that's something new that's happening as well. But yeah, I mean, these are kind of the basics of market research and a lot of what we do.
Yeah.
All right. Any other notes, Crystal?
No, I just like the market research industry. We know that, like, I think if you've been following us for a few episodes, you know that I'm kind of the like, I would say like the doomsdayer. Like, y'all are so even though I'm a part, though y'all is us. Like,
Yeah, you are.
but it just reminds me of like, okay, we've created a lot of structure, and then as things like AI or time sites has really started being more important because decisions need to be made so quicker to get product to market. They come up with things like quali-quant. It's like they can play within their rule. As long as they make the rules, they can play within them. But if someone else makes
of
the
course,
rules,
that's how
they
it
don't
goes.
want.
Interesting.
That's kind of my idea there, because I didn't know what the difference was between these for a long time. Because if you're coming in, no one like explains it to you, or they do, but until you're really interacting with it, you don't understand the difference.
It's very technical, the definitions, but I'm glad that we can translate the corporate lingo. So on to the next one. This one is sample size and population. Sample size is the number of individuals in a survey or study, and population is the total group your research is interested in. So lots of fancy words there.
A lot of fancy words.
This is the definition.
When we're talking about quantitative, that's really when this comes into play. Is you want to get those big sample sizes so you can have the different confidence intervals and then the data. Typically, no matter the population, if you want like 5% confidence in some of the results, you would want at least 400 completes. And then if you're going to break that down into different subsets, you want to make sure that there's a similar number of completes within each one of those subsets. So that's really when it gets into play. On qualitative research, you tend not to focus so much on sample size because it's more around kind of feelings and opinions and things like that. So you don't need those big numbers to back it up from a statistically valid standpoint.
There it
I'm
is.
having trouble with that word today. So yeah, that's really where it's at.
Okay.
So when it comes to with sample size, we know, like you told me once, maybe someone else did, that it only takes I guess I'll just blame everything on Dan. It takes 111 people to get a accurate representation of the US.
I think it depends on the confidence interval that you want.
Yeah.
But there's a whole sliding chart that you can have, but based on, because it's also based on your population. If you're going to the US, you would need bigger if you want a lower level of confidence because you need more people to do that. But typically at usually, it's right around like the 400 completes if you're not doing any sort of segmentation or different cohorts of data. But
sorry, we talk about segmentation next, and that made me laugh.
oh, got it.
Really good segues here. They write themselves.
Yeah.
I was also thinking, as you're talking about it, you're using the corporate lingo as we talk about it, right?
Yeah.
I was like, Danny,
to me, it's,
$10 says Danny doesn't know what a confidence scale is.
I do not.
Then,
And then
Okay.
completes and all that stuff. That might be another segmentation or another segment that we could do.
Yeah.
Especially
There's a
because these
lot.
things are
I
always
think-
so intricate.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that there's corporate lingo, just like in general, like business. And then I'm sure in any industry you go in, and I don't know if market research has like a higher propensity or number of different terms and things. And I guess I've just kind of grown up with it, so I kind of know these different things. But yeah, it gets pretty nuanced for sure.
Yeah. I mean, that was sample size. Now population, how would you say it compares?
I mean, population, you just take a sample size from your larger population.
Yeah, your population could be, like Crystal said, if you're going, all of the US, then of course, whatever the population is now, like 200 and something million, or what is it at? I don't even know. 250, 260, whatever it's at.
Population of the United States?
Yeah, what is it?
I don't know. I'm Googling it.
Let's do a little fun fact.
333 million as of 2022.
A little more than I was saying. So 333 million people, like that would be your population. But let's say you have like a small product, and you have like 500 customers and you want to serve your customers. That would be your population study if you're doing like a customer satisfaction study. Or it could be like, hey, this is my product. This is like the total addressable market that my product can serve. That might be the overall population. So it's just exactly what it says here, is like the total group your research is interested in learning from.
So you would say now there's segmentation to help with consumer insights, right?
Yeah, it could be. And segmentation could be on any number of things. So good say I like that. It could be.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say this is what segmentation, dictionary style says. Segmentation involves dividing a market into distinct groups of buyers who might require separate products or marketing mixes, whereas consumer insights are deep truths about the consumer discovered through their behavior, experiences, beliefs, needs, or desires.
Yeah, I like it. That's textbook.
I mean, it is textbook, and it's like, I think that the consumer insights is literally what we just threw into insights, right? Or sites, like delight sites, or foresight, or hindsight, or any of those sites that we'll come up with. I think it loses a little of that power, because it's just like, oh, we want insights, and it's like insights. I'm like, it's consumer insights. It's like, you guys got to tie it to something, or you just get like blah data, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, and I think consumer insights and market research now, they kind of go like hand in hand, I feel like, and it's like interchangeable terms. Like if you really want to argue it, it's probably different, but the terms just get thrown around.
I do want to argue it, Dan.
I don't really want to.
I do want to argue it. Mostly because I don't know what the argument would be.
We can get way into it, because if you think of, there's marketing research and market research are two separate things, but people interchange those terms
all the time.
And then consumer research also gets, or consumer insights, consumer research, market research, all get kind of bundled together into like the same thing, and people use these terms interchangeably. I think segmentation is definitely something different. It's something you would do within research, where you might have, like it says, like different sets of buyers that you want to try to focus on. It could be as simple as, hey, I want to see what males or females or different ages. It could be a mix of those different. It could be Gen Z, Gen Alpha, whatever you want those different segments to be, and then you analyze those different segments, and you can see some differences. Obviously, some things might affect one segment that don't affect another, so you can find some of these differences and really focus in on those consumer insights that you need.
which leads us to analytical techniques.
No.
So this one, I actually had never seen this acronym before, so it was really interesting for me as I was doing my research for this. A SWOT analysis is a technique for assessing 4 aspects of a business: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, which I was like, whoa, that's very similar to the sentiment of SWOT, which is clever. And then there's data mining, which involves examining large databases to generate new information. It's essential for discovering patterns and trends. So
I would say this almost also ties to qual and quant in market research, right? Because like SWOT tends to think about, it's more, I don't know, it's like we did this in branding class. We've done this. I did it for my company. I never actually think I've ever done it for Question Pro. I'm not going to lie to you.
I mean, I've definitely done it for different product lines, obviously the different product lines we have, and seeing what some of the strengths, weaknesses. I think a lot of the analysis that you would do when you're doing like a SWOT type analysis, you would use that to inform some of the research that you want to do. Like if you know you have like these different weaknesses or these different threats, well, you might want to do research on those things. And this could be, hey, we don't have a lot of brand awareness, or this product is failing in the marketplace. Okay, well, now that you know those weaknesses, you can do research either to validate your assumptions or to actually see, what those weaknesses are and kind of dive down even deeper into them. So I would say like you would do some SWOT analysis, and then, but even beforehand and then even afterwards, you can always go back and revise that if that's one of your objectives. And then you can see, well, especially if you're surveying like your customers or the market, you might think these are some of your strengths, but if you ask them like, hey, what do you like about, brand X, and they say all these things you didn't have under your strengths, then what some of those are.
It's like kind of coming from your mind, or maybe some surveys when you're doing SWOT. I feel like you're doing real data mining. It's coming from such large assets and pieces that it's like they have 2 different approaches that may not always that are not used
in tandem, maybe.
Yes, or they're not used like interchangeably. They're used like complement
for their own kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say. I mean, if you're doing like data mining, it's typically you already have like all the data's already been collected, and you're just looking in there for like these nuggets of information, right? Like think about when someone mines for gold, like the simplest example. You're uncovering like all of this material, all these like numbers and things that you don't need. But when you find that nugget, that that golden nugget of information, then you can utilize that. So that's how I would look at it. It's like data you already have collected. It could be based on like buying trends. It could be based on whatever large databases that you have, and you can find these different patterns and trends in there, and then you have those nuggets of information that you really can utilize.
You're a nugget, Dan. Sorry.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, I guess if we're gonna follow through with that,
I got tired of saying nugget. So I didn't have another word, but it seemed like the best thing to
most
use.
appropriate. Oh my goodness. Okay, well, if data mining is being, compared to like gold, digging and all that stuff with data mining, I guess this would be our pickaxe, right? So this is for research methods. Focus groups is one of them, which is involving small groups of people who are interviewed simultaneously to gather feedback about a product, service, or concept. And then ethnographic research is the systematic study of people and cultures from the point of view of the subject or population. That is a lot of technical terms there. Let's translate it.
Yeah, I mean, a focus group kind of goes back to our qualitative, quantitative discussion. When you're doing a focus group, you're really trying to get in front of your right segment of people and dial in what they're looking like, the feedback you're trying to get from them. This is one that honestly, Dan, I think that we should I'm not going to call it a hazing ritual, but I think that should be me, Danny, I think we should go to, who's the woman up in Round Rock who does the focus groups? Celicia.
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't be in a focus group. Like, as
Sign up. You can sign up on a list.
won't we get? Do I have to tell them I'm not in market research?
I mean, excuse me, sometimes they care, sometimes they don't, depending
But
on how bad they
I
need
think
people.
that this is something that sometimes market researchers, I'm not an exception to this, come into the space and never have the other side experience.
Which I think is important. Anything like any type of thing
That's
that you
why
do.
market researchers should also take surveys. That's all.
Yeah, I agree. That's a big sticking point. You know? But yeah, no, I think it's always good to participate in these different focus groups. I mean, I've done it even, you know, as a researcher. They've opened up some, and I've been on both sides. Like I've conducted these. I've been on the other side of usually in like a in-person focus group. It's pretty cool because it's almost like you're being interrogated because there's like a two-way mirror, right? So you can see, or window, I guess. So one side usually has like all the clients that want to listen into the feedback. Other side has like a group of 12 people with the moderator there, and they're asking them the questions. So it's a pretty cool experience, honestly. And then there's even other types that you can do as well. Like, for instance, if you're any video game like that Microsoft or any of these guys produce, usually they'll do like what they call either usability tests or play tests, where they'll have people come in, play a portion of the game, and then they'll make improvements based on that. So I've done those too, and that's actually a really fun experience.
That's
because
so cool.
You get to see something before it's even out. So there's a lot there. And then ethnographic research is really cool too, because you actually go into people's environments. So someone might come into your home or your place of work or whatever, and they want to see you in your natural surroundings. A lot of times they just kind of observe. They might ask you some questions. They might ask you like, hey, you use this product for a week, and then we're going to come in at the end and kind of talk about it, see how you're interacting with it. So it's a really cool style of research that a lot of people do. And there's people that, everything that I mentioned, there's people that specialize in each one of these. So there's a lot there for sure. But both of these would be more on the qualitative side for sure.
So,
I think Danny, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was just going to ask, in what kind of context would you use ethnographic? So, like,
yeah, I mean, it could be anything. So there's been a number of studies. One that immediately came to mind is, I remember a presentation, this is probably like 10 years ago now, but Microsoft wanted to see how people were interacting with the Xbox within people's environments. So they wanted to go into the home, see how it was set up, see how they interacted, see the spaces and everything. So especially with what was that thing? The Connect or whatever. Yeah, they wanted to see like, hey, were people giving like enough distance, and do they have enough room? If we need people to be like 6 feet away, is that enough for most living rooms? So they really utilize it like that. I've seen other ones too where it's been for, I mean, it could be any sort of product.
Isn't there
or
a
even
company in town that has an apartment that they rent to people? Or
there's that too.
So we have or I guess they're Question Pro friends in town. They have an apartment that you can sign up to stay in that apartment for the weekend or whatever, as part of the I want to test this fridge, or I want to test this oven, and then they have cameras in there to watch how people interact with the devices and stuff.
Yeah, all of that, yeah, for sure.
A little spooky. Sorry, Chris, were you going to say something earlier?
I mean, if you like people watching, you would like doing kind of that kind of research. So,
anyways, I got into the wrong field.
All right.
I was gonna say, Danny, you and I should do a field trip to go be in a focus group sometime. Yay! And we can make content out of it.
Field trip. I'm so down for that.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So let's do the next one, because this is how we take that information, I figure, right? So market evaluation techniques. So benchmarking, I know that you used this word earlier, Dan. Benchmarking is the process of comparing one's business processes and performance metrics to industry bests or best practices. And then there's also the Net Promoter Score, which is a metric that measures customer loyalty and is satisfaction based on one simple question on a scale of 0 to 10, how likely are you to recommend our company, product, service to a friend or colleague? I do know that there is a huge controversy for Net Promoter Score. I did not know it was such a thing, but apparently now I'm in. So anyway,
you are
let's
in the end if you know that. So that's good.
so let's translate this because it's very technical.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of companies obviously do benchmarking to assess their performance relative to other companies, and
Yeah.
you can do that in a number of ways by collecting data on your own and then utilizing that with different industry indexes and things like that. You can use it on like sales data. Even people benchmark that their performance. A lot of companies run what they call like brand trackers or trackers to see like is their performance changing over time. So they might run a weekly tracker, see what that is like, week to week, and to see if anything is dipping, and then they can kind of dive in, do more research to find out why. So that's a pretty common one. NPS is definitely something that's widely utilized on more of the customer experience. So, if you go into a store or you interact with the product, you probably get a survey, and the first question they want to ask you is how likely are you to recommend a company or product or service to a friend or colleague, and then you answer on a 0 to 10 scale, and then it puts those people into different categories from detractors and promoters, and there's one more, detractors, passives, yeah. Detractors, passives, and promoters.
And then there's like an algorithm. There's like to get your NPS score, there's like, you have to like minus that. There's like math involved.
Yeah.
You have to like take the number of detractors minus the number of promoters, and then a passives is like a null, and it's like it's dumb. Sorry.
We're no where Crystal stands.
But like it puts it into a score, right? So like a high NPS score is like 68. That puts you in like the Taylor Swift era, or the Taylor Swift category, along with other brands of like, Costco, USAA, Southwest, all of those.
Yeah.
So, and companies utilize that to see their performance relative to others. There's even people's bonuses and livelihoods get measured off of the NPS scores and how they're doing, especially. And then if it's, let's say you're a car dealer, right, and you own,
they game the system all the time.
Sorry. Well, you own like 10 different car dealerships. Like you want to see the performance of each one of those, and then you can go and see like, okay, let's say I give like a rating of a 5, which they would not like. Then they could contact me and say, hey, why did you give us a 5? What can we do to get better? So it's all to improve. It's all to improve like the customer experience. So you have like the product side, which research can help out with in terms of kind of product or service and doing what's better. This NPS or like the customer experience is more like kind of in the moment, like the different touch points of a consumer and those with how you interact with that brand.
Yeah.
And then you also have, workforce, which was, you would deal with employees. So you're kind of getting the holistic look at the business.
Very cool. Yeah. I learned something new today. Although I do want to say, why is it so why is it controversial and divisive?
Okay, I have an opinion on this.
Shoot.
Dan like went ready to roll his eyes. He's like, oh my God.
There are a lot of there's a lot of, you can search it up, but there's a lot of controversy in this.
Okay, it's because it's technically also a trademarked question, which if you're like someone like me who thinks that things like market research should be like independently accessible, you can't have like one company or one person put their I don't know, put a stick in the sand and say this is the benchmark, or this is the deciding factor. Like that's not fair to companies that may not be able to afford like software that has this question, don't know how to like use it. That's like, democracy and research kind of vibes, which I have my own thoughts on, like democratic accessibility to research. But also there's people who game the system. As soon as you put that thing in you put NPS in the ground and say, this is what this is the only thing we care about, then you don't make business decisions based on a SWOT analysis. You base it on your promotion or, your NPS score. Anyways, that's my soapbox on my 4 years in market research.
There's a number of things like it. I mean, it could be based on like the category. Like you might recommend things and you might not recommend other things depending on the different categories. It could be also like, does every generation recommend things the same way? There's like a lot of these different things. And then you're
Sure.
asking like based on a single point in time too. So that could change over time. So there's
Could
a
break
number of
tomorrow.
different things. Yeah, that we could have what we should do is bring in like an NPS person and then bring in like a anti-NPS person and let them
Let them juke it
let
out.
them duke it out.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's interesting. I'm glad we got insights on that because I was always curious about it. But I guess
think it's lame that it's a trademark question type.
trademark
Like
question.
that doesn't even
Not super friendly for peeps. But I guess we have our last slide here, which is understanding and addressing customer needs, which, as we talked about, we have our pain points that are specific to problems that prospective customers of your business are experiencing. And then we have a value proposition, which is an innovation, service, or feature intended to make a company or product attractive to customers. So pain points is something that I have some experience with just because, having a DGA background, demand generation associate, all that good stuff. I do have an understanding of that. But for everyone else out there, let's
You just used an acronym we didn't know.
I know. You used
I think with pain points specifically, if you can use market research to discover, especially customer pain points or product pain points, that is where market research and pain points really come. Where I think we've talked about in the last couple episodes over the years, or over the 5 times we've done this, or even me and Dan have talked about this a lot, is how do you take market researchers' biggest opportunity is being able to build narratives to present pain points that actually impact change.
Right.
Or even solutions to those pain points, right? Like if we go back to the SWOT analysis and you find like, hey, these are all the weaknesses, these are the threats, and you do research on that and you can come back and say, well, hey, based on the data, if we can do X, Y, and Z, we can improve, whether it's product or revenue, whatever the metric that you're utilizing. Yeah, so I mean, I think the pain points are definitely key. And though even once you solve some of those, it can help inform the value prop as well for particular product innovation, whatever it might be there to make it more attractive. So listen to your customers, especially if you're doing customer satisfaction research. Like that's why you should do it, and to see how satisfied they are, and if they're not, make adjustments accordingly.
Yeah.
All right. And then I guess value proposition. It sounds pretty intuitive. You're propositioning people to understand the value of your product, right?
Are you propositioning them, Danny?
Context clues. I mean, I don't know.
I think this is also something that's probably underrated. People don't doing like the value with pricing research specifically, and we're kind of focusing that. You'll see some marketing content around that this quarter with out of me and Dan, because we're talking about pricing analysis. We've got a good old Van Western Dorp question type just coming, and we're going to do some marketing around those, and kind of understanding like how much you want to price something at versus how much customers are willing to buy it at. People definitely don't do enough research on. I feel like there's companies fall in like 2 realms, like companies that don't do any research and just like follow their gut and do shenanigans, and then companies that do research. Like very rarely do you find a company in the middle that's like, oh, we do a little research. It's either they don't do any research or they do tons of research. Those are your options.
No, I think that's definitely true. And I think there's very little in the middle. You're right. It's more of like either we do it or we don't, and very little people are just like dipping their toe in the water. So it is interesting. But I mean, I think the value prop, like everything has a value prop, right? Even MRX Unplugged has a value proposition that we're pitching, right? So, and as more that you can hone in on that, I think the more like the definition is, the more attractive you'll be to your customers. So it's definitely something that research can help out with. And it's also something that I think companies should be definitely mindful of and figure it out for themselves.
Well, I also have another value proposition.
Nice.
I would like for you guys to check out our TikTok page. As I've been kind of mentioning, I've been learning a lot about this stuff. I have tons of content for you guys to check out. I'm super excited to eventually take clips from what we've been doing and put it on there. And I do want to shout out our next webinar is going to be August 14th, episode 6. We talked a little bit about it because this quarter is going to be about pricing analysis and all that good stuff. So it's going to be using complex surveys to determine product pricing. I think that one's going to be pretty interesting. We touched on it lightly right now, but I definitely would like for you guys to be there.
Dan and I did a series on these in 2020 that were very long and very dry.
Oh, I remember that.
So hopefully this will be a little bit more fun and exciting, but it'll be a good episode.
Yeah, I agree.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for your time. I appreciate your guys' brain power there to, kind of talk about how these things can translate, for someone that's new in the industry or whether they've already kind of been there but need a refresher, or maybe, there's new acronyms all the time.
Oh, yeah.
All the time. Something's coming up. But yeah, I hope everyone watching had a wonderful day, has a good afternoon, and I'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Sounds great. Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
See ya.